Hey everyone, welcome to Wildlife Inspired. I'm your host, Scott Keys. I got a pile of stuff here. We're going to talk about wildlife accessories. I've got 5 accessories that I use regularly in the field and I want to share them with you, plus a bonus right after this. Over the years, I have accumulated a lot of gear and a lot of accessories. And today I thought I would show you some of the accessories that I find myself years and years later still coming back to over and over again. Now in this video, we're not going to talk about clothing, wildlife clothing, and we're not going to talk about tripods or monopods or gimbals. We're not going to talk about teleconverters or lens adapters or things like that. These are kind of peripheral pieces that you can put in your bag or keep in your car that are practical and should actually find some benefit to you as a photographer. So let's get started. I've got 5 for you today. I'm going to throw a bonus in here as well, and let's get into number 5. In some of my videos, I've gotten questions about what is this thing on your camera? So whether it's social media or here on YouTube, sometimes I use my Z9 as I'm displaying and showing product, and often this little thing is hanging out. Sometimes it might be folded in here. This is a phone holder, and I'm going to talk a little bit about phone holders and why I like them as wildlife accessories. Now, it may not seem like this is going to help your photography, but I will tell you practically it actually can help your photography. So I've got 2 phone holders that I use regularly and I want to just show you real quick. First of all, my Z9 has a cage on it. The cage is made by a company called Small Rig. It's got a mini ball head that's mounted into the cold shoe. Now you'll hear the term hot shoe, cold shoe. These are just where the flashes go. So when it's a hot shoe, it means that it's actually flashing. It's actually being used as part of the flash system. When it's a cold shoe, it just means it's the holder, the bracket, and it's just serving as kind of functionally. It doesn't really flash anything. It's just a bracket. So I've got this tiny little ball head that I love, also made by Small Rig. If you're using these little mini ball heads, whether it's on the camera or maybe you've got it set up for a monitor that you're using, in this case, I love to use it for a phone holder. This one is actually very, very good. I've had tons of them here. I've got a couple in here that were made of plastic. I don't use those anymore. This one's actually made of aluminum and it's very durable. So I'll put a link to this. I'll put a link to the cages, just Small Rig in general. Maybe I'll just throw a link to their website because I have a ton of stuff from them. And they're not an affiliate, by the way. I have purchased a lot of stuff over the years. On this ball head, I've got a little phone holder. Now, practically, let me give you real quick the practical uses for this. One, if you're in a slow time and you're shooting and you sneak on your phone, which everybody does. Well, I shouldn't say everybody. Some people are out there with no cell service. If you've got cell service and you're looking at your phone because you're bored, if my phone is here, my hands are still free to shoot quickly. So if action happens fast, I can get right to my phone. If it's in my pocket and I pull it out, sometimes you get a little distracted and it's harder to get to your camera. So that's not a huge deal, but I also use this to record. So for me personally, when I've got my lens on here, sometimes I'll make videos for social media where I want to record what I'm seeing through the camera. And this is a good indication of kind of what my eye sees through the camera. So I'll use this to record. But again, if I'm just out in the field and I'm set up on a tripod and I want to get on my phone and play around or scroll social media, I've got it right here. Now there's a second camera. I'll put this one over here. There's a second little one that I use. Now I use this a little bit more to record video. So if I'm out in the field, I don't want to commit my camera to video, but let's say I've got a beautiful sunrise happening or something interesting that I want to record the video of as I'm doing my photography. This has a little split here so I can sit it on a pile of rocks or my backpack. And when I close that, and here's the key component, it's an ARCA compatible. So I take this mini tripod, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, out in the field with me, and I can set this up from my backpack and I can record maybe a video while I'm out in the field without having to commit my camera. So it keeps my camera engaged in photography while I'm utilizing my phone. And by the way, the newest generations of phone are so good with video that, and not as good as a DSLR, but very, very close. So I have no problem using my iPhone to shoot video for social media or even some YouTube content. And for that case, I'm listing these phone holders. I'm going to list both of these by Small Rig as my number 5 accessory. By the way, unfortunately, I couldn't find this one anymore. I found a compatible one that might actually be a little bit better by a company called Ulanzi. I've also used their phone holders in the past. I'll put that link down in the bottom. Now, just before I get to number 4, one caveat here. All of the links that are down in the bottom are affiliate links. I always try to disclose where I get my products and how I get my products so it's a little more transparent. But that's how I help support this channel. So if you're interested in purchasing anything, look down there. And if you go to purchase, come back and click the link when you purchase. That'll help me out a little bit. Now at number 4, I'm going to talk about carrying systems. I did an entire video on this, so I'll put a card up there at the top about those carrying systems. But I'm going to show you a couple that I have used in the past and that I like. And the reason I think it's important is it's a great accessory to have. After a while, you shouldn't be hand carrying your lens around. It's just, there's a risk that it's going to get damaged. It probably tires your arm out. And sometimes even if I'm using a tripod, I find it easier to carry even my heavy lens on something like a sling or something like this cotton carrier, rather than keep it on my shoulder the whole time. So sometimes if I'm on a longer hike, I'll take my monopod out with me without the camera on it. I feel it's a little more secure if I've got it attached to me. So cotton carrier is one. I have people that I've taken out on workshops that use these. They love them. I like this for a mid-size lens. I don't love it for my biggest lenses, but a macro setup or maybe a 70 to 200, a 300 millimeter lens. Very, very effective. So the nice advantage to this harness, without going through my entire video from before, is that it keeps it snug to your body and it doesn't swing around. Now I use a strap called Rapid Strap. There's newer versions than the one I have, so I'm not going to show my version here, but I will over on the side. I'll show you a picture of one of their newer versions. I like the Rapid Strap. So I'm very comfortable with it. I will tell you the disadvantage is sometimes it will kind of swing a little bit on your hip. There's another strap that I featured in the past, and this is by Peak Design. And this one I really, really like. I actually have adapted this to use on my binoculars. So this is my current strap for my binoculars. It's got these little tabs on it which stay on the binoculars, and then when I want, I can take them off, or I can just pop the strap with these little clips back on. Real easy to do, and boom. Highly adjustable, very good quality strap. And I like this better than the harnesses that came with my binoculars, so here's another option. And the last carrier I wanted to show you was a belt. This is what I use for my smaller lenses or my macro setups. 70 to 200 is perfect on here. Macro lens is perfect on here. Now, this one is made by Pro Media Gear. In the past, I have featured Spider. I got onto this belt a couple months ago, and I asked Pro Media Gear would they send me one for this video. They did. Thank you, Pro Media Gear. And I've switched away from Spider. It's a quality product for other reasons that maybe I'll tell a story one time. I'm just getting away from Spider and I'm going to Pro Media Gear. I will tell you, I love this one. I've used it a few times now. Very, very well made. And if anybody owns any equipment from Pro Media Gear, whether it's gimbals or tripods or any accessories, you know that this is a quality product, also made in the United States. It's a wonderful belt. So this is my new belt that I'll be using, I think, permanently, and very, very well made. It uses a little lug that goes on to the lens or to the body of your camera and slides in and out. Again, I've got a video on this, so I'm not going to get into detail. But when I talk about carrying accessories, this is the one I use the most for my mid to small size lenses. So Pro Media Gear, love this belt. Thanks for sending it to me. And that's my fourth favorite accessories. Just carrying systems in general. I showed you the ones that I use. I use the Black Rapid Strap and this the most, but some other options out there. Peak Design, which I'm using for my binoculars. Cotton Carrier is a common one and popular one that I've also used. All great companies to work with, by the way. So that's my number 4 accessories. Any of these carrying systems, check out my other video, and let's get on to number 3. But wait, there's more. Bonus time. I'm going to throw in a bonus accessory. It's not something that I'm going to feature because I actually left it outside. We're in the middle of a rainstorm. I set it out the other day to clean it off and dry it out for this video. Left it outside. I don't need to feature it. I'm going to show you a picture of what it looks like over here. I did a video on low angle photography that I'm going to reference twice in this set of accessories. And in that video, I talked about the use of a yoga mat. Now, it doesn't matter what yoga mat you use, so showing you mine isn't really going to have a huge benefit. I will tell you, I've used thick yoga mats, like few millimeters, 5, 6, 7 millimeters thick. They're very, very comfortable, but they're not as easy to pack up and roll up and throw in a bag. So what I did is I found the thinnest one that I could find. I'm going to link it over there. If it's available still, I'll try to find the most current model. Sometimes these models change and they're hard to find on Amazon, but if it's still available, I'll throw it out over there. This one was only a millimeter thick, I think. And when I ordered it, I thought, well, it's super, super light. I can get it into bag. And the bag that I use most commonly for this, I have a duck bag, a low angle bag, where I've got some accessories and I keep this yoga mat in there. So I did want something super, super thin. The nice thing is the design of these yoga mats tends to be pretty waterproof. So it keeps you clean when you're down in the muck. And if you get a thicker one, they're pretty comfortable. If you get a thinner one, super easy to carry. So it adds almost nothing to your kit, doesn't cost a lot of money, and makes a lot of sense. So as my bonus item in today's video, I'm going to suggest that you look at a yoga mat. My number 3 accessory is something that is always in my car. It never leaves my trunk, and that is camouflage. Now it depends. I have a couple different ones I'm going to show you. I'm not going to say you have to buy this one or that one. I'm going to show you a couple recommendations, but I will say stay away from, if you're using this netting, it's very inexpensive. You can find it anywhere. Dozens of companies make it. I'll link the one that I personally bought just because it hasn't ripped and I've had no issues with it. Try to avoid one with the strings in it. So some of these have extra strings attached inside to hold it together and give it better shape. It adds weight, but more importantly, you've got a lot of gear. It's going to get caught into everything. It'll get caught in your tripod and your plates and your clamps and your camera. So this one, it still gets caught in stuff, but not nearly as bad as the string. So this one might be 4 feet by 6 feet, somewhere in that range. I use this all the time. Now, what do I use this camouflage for? I use camouflage for ducks almost every single time. So if I'm in a situation where I need quick cover, I can grab just whatever's in the back of my trunk, throw it over me real quick and lay down on the ground and wait for the ducks to come in. So when I don't have time to set up a full kit, it's just real easy to throw over. Sometimes I'll drape that camouflage I just showed you over my lens to break up the shape of the lens and to put a barrier between me and my subjects. And that might be songbird photography. So if I'm shooting songbirds in a situation where they're very, very close, then I want to break up my shape and try to get the birds to be comfortable with me. I will also say mirrorless lenses have helped me a lot in this situation. So I can go into a quiet mode and not worry about that shutter noise. The mechanical shutter on the DSLRs, even on the quietest modes, tends to scare songbirds off when they're really, really close. So when I'm shooting songbirds at close range, I'm really, really focused on just being very, very still. Probably as a tip, the most important thing is to limit your movement. The camouflage, though, will help break up your shape. To give you an idea about this, I'm going to play a quick video. Now, I was under this cape, and I'll show you what this cape looks like after I show you the video. This porcupine walked right past me while I was under this cape. He actually brushed against my leg. Now, porcupines are notorious for having bad eyesight, but it was interesting. I don't think had I been under this camo cape that the porcupine would have actually walked this close to me. He probably would have seen some movement or seen my shape and avoided me. I like this cape a lot. I've had people ask me where I got it. It's just on Amazon. I'll put a link down there at the bottom for this specific one. It's got a hood and then it just covers your shape up. Again, sometimes camo can be overkill. There are plenty of times I see people show up in full camouflage to shoot with 20 people in a parking lot. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But I will tell you this. There's no doubt in my mind when shooting waterfowl, camouflage helps a lot. For those of you wildlife photographers that are shooting like big game, I know that there's a reason hunters wear camouflage. It actually just helps keep you away from the subject. It helps hide your shape. And so this cape has been very, very helpful when I'm doing songbirds in certain situations, not all the time, but when I'm doing songbirds in situations where I think they might be really close, especially during fall migration. I actually wear this cape quite a bit, and I will tell you that it helps. So I'll link this down below. My number 3 accessory, camouflage. Now my number 2 accessory is a mini tripod. I told you I wasn't going to cover gimbals and tripods on this, but mini tripod is more of an accessory to me. The ones I'm going to show you today, you're not going to stand upright and put your camera on. I'm going to show you the practical applications and why I think they're so valuable to me. Now this is called a tabletop model. So this is actually very, very small. I do own one of these. I keep it in my backpack so that if I am out and need to do video, I've got that adapter I showed you earlier and I can do iPhone video. This isn't the one I really wanted to talk about, but I wanted to show it to you because this tabletop model is one that I do use. This is the model that I'm going to show you, and I'll actually link this specific brand down there. When I was researching these, it had good reviews. The price seemed to be a little bit favorable. So it's made by Sure. I've used this company on some of my other product reviews. I found them to be very, very good for certain products. So this is a mini tripod. You'll see these in the $100 to $200 range normally. There's a few companies that make it. I've got a ball head on this, but I will put a gimbal on here as well. Now this is in its upright position. It will extend a little taller, but this isn't how I use it. I'm actually going to use this in 2 positions. I'm going to use it in this medium position, and this is going to get me about a foot off the ground. So if I'm at the beach or I'm shooting something that I need to be maybe a couple feet off the ground, it gives me the flexibility that a ground pod does not. So a lot of people are using ground pods. Nothing wrong with it for low angle photography. But what happens when you want to be a foot off the ground and all you've got is a ground pod? You're limited. What I really use this mostly is for just to flatten it out. And you'll see that this one in particular gets almost perfectly flat. Just maybe a couple degrees of height here. So I'm almost perfectly flat. And whether you're using a ball head in this situation or a gimbal, I've got a couple different scenarios that I use this in. I've done the low angle video. I referenced it earlier. This piece of equipment is in there. So you can do a little bit more research on how to use this for low angle, but there are some adaptations you can make and a few hacks with this. But I really, really, really like this. Mini tripod. I use it as a ground pod with the flexibility to get about a foot over the ground. And if I've got the ball head on here and I want to shoot some video, I can throw that iPhone holder on here. I can put my phone on here and I can record some video on the side. So the mini tripod for me, it is literally always in my car. And I have really grown to love this over the last 2 years. So my number 2 accessory is this mini tripod, in this case, the one made by Surae, the AM223. And now I'm down to my favorite group of accessories, and I'll just call these beanbags, pads. I'm going to show you 3 today. Now, the first one I'm going to show you is literally a beanbag. It's designed as a car door beanbag, so you're going to put this over there, and it's going to stabilize your lens so that if you're shooting out your car window, you're giving it a little bit of padding. So to protect the car, but also to stabilize it a little bit. These beanbags work really, really well. Now, you can also flip it upside down, and you can shoot through it this way. So you could, if you're doing low angle photography, you could absolutely use this as a low angle stabilizer. So it's very, very adaptable. If you want to shoot over your car or on top of your car, you're popped out your sunroof, for any reason you can use this. I keep this behind my driver's seat. So if I need it in a pinch, I can reach behind my driver's seat, shoot out my car window. So this one stays in my car most of the time, almost all the time. This one's in my car. By the way, this one's made by a company. I'll put a link down there at the bottom. It's called Roland Pro. There's also a company called Lens Coat. Both companies I've had no problems with. I have no affiliation with either one of them. I'm going to link this one down there since this is the one that I own. And this one I think is available on Amazon, so I will put that link down there. So this is one option. Now the second option is kind of interesting, and I do use this in certain situations. This is an adaptation. This is a flotation seat. So this is actually made for boats. I don't use this to float out in the water, but what I do use it for is in wet situations. It's waterproof and it floats. So if I've got my camera resting on here, I just feel like it's a little bit safer. And more importantly, the beanbag type things down in the water, they actually absorb the water and they get pretty nasty. This one is more waterproof, and if there's a little bit of pooling of water, so if I'm down by the edge of a lake, for example, and there's like a little bit of pooling of water, I find this to be really, really helpful. So this is a flotation device made for boats. I found a camouflage pattern, so I figured I'd give it a shot, and I have actually used it a couple times. I like this one. Now the last one, my number 1 accessory, and my number 1 of the number 1 accessories, and this is it's called a heat seat. And it's just a little, hunters use these, and it's thermal, so I guess it keeps your butt warm if you want to sit on it. I use it for a couple different applications. Here's what I love about this. It's dirt cheap. It's a seat, so if I'm in a wet area that I need to sit on, I can throw it down so I don't get wet. If I'm on the rocks up in the mountains, I can put this on the rocks and sit on it. I'm getting older and older, and my butt is getting sorer and sorer. So after 3 or 4 hours on mountain rocks, I appreciate this. I put a little clip on it here so I can, kind of grab it and clip it on my belt or clip it on my backpack and just take it along with me. This side is somewhat waterproof. It actually does a pretty good job at resisting water. So this side, if you're along the edge of a lake, you can use this, and it's got a better beanbag system than that flotation seat that I showed you. So this works pretty well. So I can rest my camera on here. There have been situations where I've, in my duck bag, my portable duck bag that I take out with me, it's just kind of a backpack with a bunch of stuff in it, or knapsack with a bunch of stuff in it. I normally take this and my mini tripod, and sometimes I'll set up 2 systems. I'll set up 1 camera here, maybe for video, and then 1 camera here to shoot stills off of. So I do keep this with me almost 100% of the time in my car. It's behind my driver's seat, so I love it. I love it. I think it's inexpensive. It's almost a no-brainer for me. I think every wildlife photographer can find some benefit from this. If you're shooting on your car, you want to throw this on the car hood because something jumped out in front of you, you can put your camera down on here and use it as a stabilizer. So it's a seat, it's a stabilizer, and it's a wonderful little piece of equipment that is not going to break the bank. So my number one piece, or my favorite accessory of all, is this little heat seat. So those are my top 5 accessories with a bonus. I'm kind of curious what I missed. What is your favorite accessory that doesn't involve, gimbals and tripods or lenses? What's your favorite accessory? Is there something you practically use out in the field that you like? I think it's helpful sometimes to use these videos as almost a forum so people can, down in the comments, scroll through the comments. Maybe there's a really good suggestion down there as well. Again, everything that I showed you here, I'm going to try to put a link down there if it's still available. So check the affiliate links down below. Once again, it does help support the channel. So if you want me to keep making reviews and helping you guys out, using the affiliate links does help me in return. I do want to thank you for your support of the channel. If you're not subscribed, I got a lot of great videos coming out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave the comments. Was this helpful for you? Is there anything here that you think you could benefit from, or do you have something in your bag that you think others can benefit from? Leave that down in the comments. Thanks for your support here. And as always, I hope we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.